Hi friends, good evening. Chali, let's close our eyes. So a quick recap.
We started with the challenges of implementation.
Yes.
We started with the challenges to the implementation of laws, sir.
Okay, tell me.
Kalpana Kannabiran, in her book Women and Law, she points out what patriarchal mindset as the problem for the improper implementation
Of pro-women legislation.
Yes.
Wonderful. Very to the point, scholarly, just as it should be. And this succinctness, this exactness should also reflect in your writing. Great. What is the Uniform Civil Code?
Applying uniform law across the religion to all the citizens of India. That is
Regarding what?
regarding personal laws.
Which means what? What does personal
which,
law cover?
Personal law covers marriages, inheritance, adoption,
Divorce,
marriages,
maintenance, succession.
Yes.
Great. Child custody. Wonderful. Give me a historical overview regarding the UCC debate.
Menon says that there in 1937, this demand for UCC is from 1937
1937, where was this demand made for the first time?
by feminist scholars.
What was the platform?
All India Women Conference.
All India Women Conference. Wonderful. Thank you. Pass it on. Online students, please type yes that you are with me. Please confirm. Yes, thank you. Yes, continue. Give me this thing.
I was absent, sir, actually.
Okay, pass it on. Tell me two counter-enlightenment scholars. No?
Not revised.
Yes?
Sir, not revised.
Not revised.
Sir, absent.
Absent. Tell me, give me some arguments why the UCC should be brought about.
Sir, it promotes gender justice.
Sorry?
It promotes gender justice.
Promotes gender justice. Wonderful.
It brings modernization. It helps in modernization.
Helps in modernization. Wonderful.
National integration.
National integration.
It promotes secularism.
Secularism. Wonderful. Thank you. Bitya,
Yes, sir.
why is the UCC opposed?
So some organizations like the All India Muslim Personal Law Board oppose UCC because they feel that this is encroaching upon their rights as a religious minority. Then feminists are a divided house on this. So some of them oppose it because they feel that it has become very Hinduized. Earlier it was about women's equality, now it's Hinduized.
Very
However,
good.
some feminist organizations like Saheli organization support it.
Great, thank you. Now you catch your breath and pass on the mic. है ना? Well articulated वैसे. Huh? So what's the way forward on the issue of UCC? What possible solutions do we have? How can we address this issue? अभी नहीं, पहले पढ़ना था बिटिया.
Sir, I did not revise.
Did not revise.
So, sorry.
What does Mark Galanter say on law and society in India? No. What does T.K. Uman say?
I'm sorry, sir, I did not revise. Sir, I didn't revise.
Pass it on. Tell me, what is the way forward for a uniform civil code?
Sir, we should implement it.
Okay.
Irrespective of the political outcomes.
Okay.
Or we should...
Who suggests this? This
what?
first thing that you've said? This is suggested by?
The women organization.
Yes, which?
Saheli.
Saheli, wonderful. Pass it on. What other solutions, beta?
So, there is a suggestion that the piecemeal approach should be used for adopting UCC. And then Flavia Agnes also says that the UCC should be incorporated with gender. The gender thing should be given dominance in that.
Sorry, that's not what Flavia Agnes says. She does not champion for a uniform civil code. She offers another solution. Pass the mic to Bitia. What does Flavia Agnes suggest? What should be done?
So not able to recall.
Pass it on. What does Agnes say?
Regarding reforming personal law.
Reform. Keep the personal laws, respective personal laws of different communities and reform them. Instead of imposing a uniform civil code, because that will always be seen as an imposition by the minorities and therefore opposed on that ground. ठीक है. Great. Some students after the last lecture came to me and rightly asked that is UCC only about Muslims? The way it was framed during the debate, and the answer to that is that yes, it will impact all communities, not just the Muslims. Somehow in the current setup, the debate has become about Muslim personal laws, but Flavia Agnes makes this very exact point, this very same point, that UCC will not be opposed only by Muslims. She says it will be problematic for nearly all communities, including, very importantly, Hindus. Because amongst Hindus also there are diverse cultural practices. Amongst Hindus also, a UCC will essentially mean that the progressive elements of the personal law of one community will be imposed on another, which is very absurd. For example, if amongst Muslims the practice of meher, one may argue it is progressive, that it empowers women financially, offers them security. So should a meher be imposed on Hindus? Which is admittedly a bizarre kind of a suggestion. So a UCC will be opposed possibly by all communities, including tribals and Hindus and Christians and Sikhs. Okay? Not just the Muslims. चलिए, अब चलते हैं जीवन में आगे. Any doubts, any questions, since we are nearing the completion of the syllabus? From any portion, any doubts, big or small? Paper 1, paper 2, any topic, anything which requires clarification. Feel very free to ask. Big or small. It could be very trivial, seemingly petty. Okay, so his question is that I had said that with Sanskritization the position changes, but given that the occupation does not change, then how can the position of a caste change? A, it is not very correct to say that the occupation necessarily does not change. With Sanskritization, many castes give up their what are considered as lowly or polluting occupations and take up new ones, or should we say purer and cleaner ones. One. Secondly, even if the occupational profile does not change, what matters when we say Sanskritization, say position is changing, position in the ritual hierarchy is changing. Meaning a caste which was earlier seen as, say these are the castes in a given village. Say now 8 Sanskritizes. What is it doing? It is claiming that we are above 7. Now we should be, this is say caste name is ABC. This caste name is DEF. So ABC is saying that we should be placed above DEF. How does it practically translate? It means that these guys who are on the top, they start treating ABC as in some way purer than DEF. And these guys are claiming it on what basis? Because they now have the wealth and the money. Wealth and the power. So they are becoming purer. So these guys might start, they may, for example, if these are the Brahmins, these guys may start offering land grants to the Brahmins. Or throwing, large feasts. It's like lalach, it's like goose for the local Brahmins. Due to which the local Brahmins may start treating them ABC in preference to DEF. Say if earlier they were not accepting water. They were accepting water earlier from DEF but not ABC. Now they will reverse it. These guys. They'll start accepting water from ABC but not DEF. Which indicates that now ABC has become superior to DEF. So A, occupation can change with Sanskritization. B, even if it does not, there can be an improvement in ritual rank depending on how the castes placed above treat. How can they? No, so even if the occupation, his question, follow-up question, I am repeating for the benefit of online students. His follow-up question is, if the occupation doesn't change, then how can they be regarded as any purer than earlier? Because sometimes, say due to modern technology, the way you perform that occupation may change. Because of which it may be now regarded as ritually purer than it earlier was. Any other doubts? Which topic are you mentioning, Anjali? Secondary, tertiary relations topic? I am not able to understand. What is your doubt? She's made a sad smiley face. So what is your doubt? Secondary, tertiary relations topic. I didn't understand the doubt better. Anjali, be very specific and elaborate in, explaining what your doubt is. Brother. Okay, a very, very good, pertinent question. I'm sure it must be, in a lot of our minds, that while answering any question in general in sociology, can we write our own thoughts or our own analysis? The answer to that is, you don't say you don't own it up explicitly. You don't say it's my viewpoint, in my view. You never write it like that. Secondly, you can write your generic understanding also, but the challenge is to try to make it somewhat sociological, different from run-on-the-mill or GS type analysis. Okay? And thirdly, it does help to fetch more marks if a typical answer has some scholarly references. Okay? So that is your answer. Please do that. So his question is, if we know a limited number of scholars, okay, let's say hypothetically ki in analysis of village studies in India during 50s and 60s. Dhanyavad bhaiya. So say I have 2 scholars in mind that, SS Jodhka said something that it needs to be updated, and Gupta said something, right? I don't know any other scholars, but I do have 4 or 5 points in mind. Please go ahead. And that is what you will be doing for most answers. You will have 2, 3, 4 scholars, but then you can't just confine your answer to those points only. You will have to and should bring in other views. But don't say my view. That's the only thing. It should come across as a generic analysis or criticism. Brother. रिजर्वेशन, हाँ, रिजर्वेशन पे वे फॉरवर्ड क्या लिख सकते हैं? डिपेंड करेगा क्वेश्चन स्पेसिफिकली है क्या, पहली बात. दूसरी बात, इन जनरल द सोशो पॉलिटिकल कंसेंसस इज ऑन द डिजायरेबिलिटी ऑफ द रिजर्वेशन पॉलिसी. So never be very extreme. For example, one article was shared in the Telegram channel where Tavleen Singh argues for doing away with reservations for all sections of the society. Huh? Don't take such an extreme position. है ना? So इस तरह से है. और स्पेसिफिकली क्या, इन जनरल किसी भी चीज को लेके कि भैया बहुत कुछ किया गया है बट आगे बहुत कुछ करने की जरूरत है. ठीक है. ऑन अ पॉलिसी लाइक रिजर्वेशन स्पेसिफिकली यू कैन ऑल्सो एड दैट यू नो द प्रॉब्लम, one of the important things we need to keep in mind is that in India the notion of social justice has been reduced to reservation, but it can never be, you know, full social justice can never be ensured solely on the basis of the reservation policy. So it needs to be accompanied by other measures such as promotion of a robust public education system, or creation of a development of a robust public education system. Reservation cannot be the end all and be all of social justice. ठीक है? Yes, Bitya. Let me take up this doubt, if you permit, on Wednesday, regarding ki how do we go ahead from here and take up new topics. I'll address that for sure. In case I forget, remind me on Wednesday. Any specific doubts you have from any topic? Differentiate between life chances and lifestyle. Now these two concepts were developed by Max Weber, wherein he argues that members of a class share similar life chances, while members of a status group share a similar lifestyle. So, life chances are based on use the Weberian phrase. Life chances are based on similar market situation. While lifestyle is based on status situation. So those who share a similar status situation have a similar lifestyle. Typically these are racial or ethnic groups. Like Jews are a status group. In India, the castes are status groups. Each caste has its own distinctive lifestyle. Lifestyle is preserved through how? How does any status group preserve or maintain its lifestyle? Endogamy, very importantly. Life chances is simply a function of money. Right? So that is what it is. Okay, I'm being asked by Anjali, what are secondary and tertiary kin? Secondary kin are the primary kin of one's primary kin. There are 8 primary kin, namely the most basic, closest relations, namely father, mother, brother, sister, husband, wife, son, daughter. These are the 8 primary kin. Secondary kin are those primary kin of primary kin which are not the primary kin of the ego. So my father's father is my secondary kin. And why is that obnoxious second part of the definition, who are not the primary kin of the ego? Say my father's son is, or my father's daughter, for simplicity's sake, is my sister, who is my primary kin. Therefore, we say secondary kin are those primary kin of the ego which are not the primary kin of the ego. Likewise, tertiary kin are secondary kin of primary kin or primary kin of tertiary kin, again which are not the secondary or primary kin of the ego. So my father's father's father, my father's father is my primary, father's father is secondary, father's father's father is my tertiary kin. And that obnoxious second part, because my father's father's son. My father's brother. हाँ. My father's father's son is my secondary kin. है ना? So इसलिए उनको नहीं मानेंगे because they are secondary kin. I hope that clarifies it, Anjali. चलिए अब चलते हैं जीवन में आगे. Moving on to discussing education and Indian society. What is education? And is it important? Like, sir, हम यहाँ पे ऐसे ही आए थे झक मारने वरना. Is it important? I know it's too evident, self-evident an answer. But is education important in our society? Why? Kahe? Brother? Forget Dorkheim. For a bit. Speak from your own mind. While you write Durkheim, if you know him. You know? But okay, it helps in the socialization of the child. Important for self-development. The only weapon in the hands of the middle class to climb up the ladder. Bilkul. Is this weapon only in the hands of the middle class? Or the lower classes as well? Haan, brother. Sorry? Spreads awareness regarding various things. Ye bataiye, before we get into or delve deeper into the importance of education, what is education? Or more specifically, is it the same as literacy? Let me also put before you another term which you are already familiar with. Is it the same as socialization? Are these three terms, literacy, education, and socialization, are they different from each other? Are they same? Tell me. Brother? An educated person is literate, but a literate person is not necessarily educated, which is okay, but what do the two terms mean? Literate is somebody who can read things, okay? While education means you know about stuff. Stuff is not very particular anyways. Not very satisfactory somehow. और बताइए, brother? What? Which term? Education entails a larger civic sense on how to live in a society. To learn the norms of the society. And in that case, if you define it as such, the way you are, is it the same as socialization? Because that is, socialization is also what we call the, imbibing the norms and values of the society. And that's also the exact phrase that you used to explain education. So are the two terms interchangeable? Bitya, you had raised your hand? Yes. अगर किसी व्यक्ति को किसी एक भाषा में पढ़ना, लिखना और बोलना आता है तो उसको लिटरेट या साक्षर मानते हैं, irrespective of whether the person has gone to school or not. Okay. Okay, good. So it is more about, going through the systematic process, laid down process of acquisition of knowledge. That is education. Brother? Education involves active learning. And socialization is involuntary conditioning. So, it's like at a subconscious level. Socialization is at the subconscious level, while education is what we actively seek and imbibe. And literacy? The ability to read and write. Brother. Education, very nice, is multi-dimensional. More comprehensive than literacy. And literacy is what? ठीक है. Socialization is based on values which we imbibe through culture. Brother? Wonderful. Education expands our horizons to think. हाँ. और बाकी भी तो बताओ. जब इतने horizon widen किया आपने, तो बाकियों के बारे में भी बताओ. ठीक है. Literacy is about reading and writing. Bitya. Literacy is a very objective phenomena. Critical thinking, reasoning and analysis. You are saying that if socialization helps us to know our own culture. Education helps us to know the world. One could argue in that line, but that is not like the most distinctive marker of the two, the defining difference between the two. Thank you. So, friends, of course, the most limited, should I say, of the three concepts is literacy. Literacy, what in Hindi we term as saksharta. It is simply the ability to, what is at a most fundamental level, it is defined as the ability to read and write in any language with understanding. Ability to read and write in any language with understanding. In the sociology of education, friends, we focus on, or we talk in terms of the 3 R's of literacy. The 3 R's of literacy. Namely, what are the 3 R's? Bilkul. Reading, writing, and arithmetic. Reading, writing, and arithmetic are the 3 R's. ठीक है? Of literacy. At a most fundamentally a basic level, what we call basic literacy, it is the ability to read and write in any language with understanding. But then the notion of literacy has also broadened and evolved with time. It has evolved. So from ek to you have basic literacy as we have defined it. Then you have something called functional literacy, which means what? That literacy with which you can perform basic functions. For example, you go to the market to purchase grocery. You hand over the shopkeeper a 500 rupee note. The product which you are buying costs 38 rupees. Then can you perform this basic math? How much money he is supposed to return you? Are you with me? That is functional literacy. You give your friend 10,000 rupees loan. Right? And you want it to be put in writing that he has taken this loan from you. Can you write that basic agreement or document? Are you with me? Can you read it if he gives it to you in writing? That would be functional literacy. Now, of course, we are at that stage we talk about new emerging types of literacy such as digital literacy. For example, if you are in the online world, can you navigate your way through the digital world to land on the right resources? There is so much information online. है ना? So that is literacy for you. Education is a much broader concept. Education entails acquisition of knowledge and information through the formal knowledge dissemination system. From the formal schooling and college system. What did I say? It entails acquisition of knowledge in a formal and systematic manner. From the established and recognized network of institutions, namely schools and colleges. Full stop. It matlab education helps develop critical thinking, rational analysis, and helps in the overall growth and development of the personality of the individual. ठीक है? Also, friends, with regarding education also, our understanding of education is evolving. That is also broadening. For example, today education may be imparted through newer modes like digital या online education, not necessarily classroom-based education. Today we also talk in terms of lifelong learning. Lifelong learning. मतलब why should education be confined only to the years of youth during school and college? या चाइल्डहुड या यूथ तक क्यों सीमित रहे. Socialization, of course, is a much broader term. Any type of learning that man has as a member of society is socialization. Any type of learning. For example, I may pick up a sense of fashion from popular cinema. Yes or no? We won't term that education. But yes, is it a type of socialization? Absolutely. Mass media is a very powerful tool of socialization. Yes or no? I may pick up a habit of smoking, daru sutta, from friends in college. It's a part of my socialization, but not education. Are you with me? So socialization is a term even broader than education. Education is an important means or an important agency of socialization, for sure. One of the ways in which we get socialized is through the education system. It's not the only one. Religion also socializes us. Mass media also socializes us. Family also socializes us. We learn from all. ठीक है? Now coming back to the question, is education important for our society? The answer to that is, yes, undoubtedly, categorically, yes. It is considered as a very vital and indispensable tool for social transformation. If you want to get rid of poverty, how do you do it? Education. If you want to reduce the fertility rate and stabilize population, how do you do it? कैसे करोगे? Education. If you want to empower women, how do you do it? Education. If you want to uplift tribals, how do you do it? बताओ ना. Education. If you want to foster innovation, how do you do it? Education. If you want to integrate Muslims into the national mainstream, how do you do it? Education. If you want a higher rate of economic growth, how do you do it? Batao na. Education. If you want to ensure the full development of the personality of the individual, how do you do it? Education. If you want India to become a scientific superpower, how do you do it? Education. If you want to promote rational thinking amongst the people, how do you do it? Education. If you want to ensure social mobility at a greater pace, how do you do it? If you want to ensure greater, equality of opportunity for all sections of the society, how do you do it? Education. So, 100 बीमारी का एक इलाज, which is education. So education is widely regarded as a panacea for all the ills plaguing our society. Panacea means a Ramban Davai or a one-shot cure-all. So to bring about or to effect desirable social transformation, education is a very vital tool. Education, friends, is central to societal as well as personal development in modern societies. अगर मैं चाहता हूं कि मेरा बच्चा अमीर हो जाए, कैसे होगा? पढ़ाई लिखाई से. अगर मैं चाहता हूं पूरा समाज तरक्की करे, कैसे करेगा? पढ़ाई लिखाई से. अगर मैं चाहता हूं मेरी कम्युनिटी, मेरी कास्ट तरक्की करे, वो भी कैसे करेगी? एजुकेशन से. सो चाहे हम सोसाइटल लेवल पे बात करें, कम्युनिटी लेवल पे बात करें, इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे बात करें, फेमिलियर लेवल पे बात करें, एजुकेशन इज द की, लिटरली विच ओपन्स एवरी लॉक. ठीक. Not only does the education system has a profound bearing on the society, it is also greatly affected by the society. The relationship between education and the wider society is not one way. It is two way. The education system, friends, does not operate in a vacuum. It is very intimately connected to various other social institutions. Is it connected to the family? How? For example, if my family has a patriarchal mindset, it will not send the girl child to the school. Yes or no? And on the other side, if the members of the family, particularly its women, are educated, then we will be having fewer children and also will focus on the education of the girl child. Yes or no? I repeat, the education system does not operate in a vacuum. It is intimately connected to various other social institutions. Yes or no? जैसे इकोनॉमी में चेंजेस होंगे, एजुकेशन सिस्टम में चेंजेस होंगे या होने चाहिए. जैसे टेक्नोलॉजी में चेंजेस होंगे. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, नाउ यू हैव आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, सो यू हैव कोर्सेज फॉर आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस एंड मशीन लर्निंग. 10 साल पहले तो नहीं होते थे ये कोर्सेज, पर अब ये एक फील्ड डेवलप हो गया है. रोबोटिक्स का हो गया है या जेनेटिक इंजीनियरिंग का हो गया है. जो जो साइंस, टेक्नोलॉजी, इकोनॉमी में चेंजेस होंगे, वो सारे एजुकेशन सिस्टम में भी रिफ्लेक्ट होंगे. इंडिया में आईटी या कंप्यूटर एजुकेशन कब बूम करी? जब आईटी इंडस्ट्री बूम करी. ठीक. In other words, friends, the education system also changes and evolves with changes in the rest of the society. जैसे समाज परिवर्तित होता है, वैसे ही एजुकेशन सिस्टम, शिक्षा प्रणाली भी परिवर्तित होती है. So let us try to appreciate, friends, how the Indian education system has evolved over the years. Give a subheading: Evolution of India's education system. How has our education system changed or evolved? Back in the days, In olden times, we had Gurukul system of education. Gurukul system में an important role was played by the Guru. And what's a Guru or what's a Gurukul? Or what was this Gurukul system of education? Guru कौन होता है? या कैसे होते थे? होते तो नहीं अब. Sorry? Who imparts knowledge? In that sense, is the Guru only a Sanskritic word for teacher? Is a Guru the same? Is the Guru of yore the same as the modern day teacher? Yes or no? Is it simply a linguistic difference, language difference? How is it different? Bitya. Mostly Brahmins. Lot of spiritual knowledge. All right, brother. Very good. Their teachings were not confined to religion. What did they teach? Personality development. जैसे यूपीएससी कोचिंग में भी होते हैं पर्सनालिटी डेवलपमेंट क्लासेस हैं, वो पीटी के लिए, पर्सनालिटी टेस्ट के लिए. समथिंग सिमिलर. Basic skills, good. See friends, गुरु शब्द का क्या अर्थ है? गुरु शब्द का क्या अर्थ है? गु प्लस रू. गु शब्द का अर्थ है छोटी ऊ की मात्रा. ओके, इट मीन्स डार्कनेस. डार्कनेस. रू शब्द का अर्थ है टू डिस्पेल. For those who don't understand Devanagari script, Gu refers to darkness. Ru means to dispel. So the word Guru literally means the one who dispels darkness. Darkness in the sense ignorance. Or the one who dispels ignorance. And when you dispel ignorance, your darkness, what remains? Light. In other words, is the one who brings you to light of knowledge. Please appreciate, friends, the role of the Guru in the olden times was very different than the role played by modern day teachers in the lives of their students. So the word teacher frankly does not do justice to the import of the meaning of the term Guru. So the Guru performed numerous, multifarious roles vis-a-vis the Shishya. Again, student is not the best word to refer to the Shishya. One, of course, the Gurus imparted domain knowledge, the way modern day teachers do. But their role was not confined to that. Apart from imparting domain knowledge, they also imparted important life skills. Life skills. लाइफ स्किल्स क्या होते हैं? साफ बात है, यू कांट लिव योर लाइफ विद नॉलेज ऑफ सोशियोलॉजी एंड फिजिक्स एंड ज्योग्राफी एंड हिस्ट्री. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस domain knowledge, you need, for example, we all will face moments which will provoke us to anger. So how do you deal with these negative emotions like anger? Yes or no? Jealousy. All of us, even the most successful amongst us, will and do encounter failure. What do you do in case of failure? You will meet people who are intemperate, who repel you. We are all human beings after all. People you don't like or who don't like you. All of us, most of us, feel shortchanged. We feel we are God's blessing to humanity. मैं इतना अच्छा इंसान हूं, सबका भला करता हूं. But people are thankless. They don't realize my worth. Yes or no? हम सबको लगता है नहीं कि I did so much for him or her and look how they paid me back. पीठ में खूरा झोंप दिया. We all feel that. Very common. Nothing new. You know, how do you deal with thanklessness? Even Jesus Christ कहते हैं कि he cured numerous people, okay, of leprosy, but only one of them thanked him. मैं और आप क्या चीज हैं? We yearn for happiness. Are you with me? अब प्रभु श्री राम और माता सीता की लाइफ देख लो. Sterling character, born in royalty, and they had a tough life. बट हम और आप, हमारी महत्वाकांक्षा क्या होती है कि हमारा एक सुखद जीवन रहे. That we lead a happy, joyous, prosperous, healthy relation. We want everything. So how do you deal with situations when you don't? Because you won't many times. All of these important life skills, whether it is to deal with negative emotions, negative people, negative situations, the Guru would teach to his Shishya. The Guru also taught the Shishya morality and ethics. How to distinguish between right and wrong. सही और गलत के क्या मायने हैं, क्या पहचान है. We all need a moral compass. Yes or no? The Guru would also aid the Shishya in his or her spiritual journey or quest. So when we embark on our, seeking the quote-unquote higher truths, we'll falter, we'll get tempted, we'll have numerous questions and doubts in our mind. And you need someone to resolve them. And the Guru would offer his helping hand there. So the Guru performed numerous, very vital roles in the life of the Shishya. Consequently, friends, and do modern day teachers do this? Do we impart you any training in morality and ethics? Do we teach you life skills? What do we focus on? Domain knowledge. Saaf baat. Very, very limited understanding of education or development of the individual. Yes or no? Consequently, friends, in the olden times, the Guru enjoyed a very elevated position in the society. गुरु गोविंद दाऊ खड़े काके लागू पाए, बलिहारी गुरु आपने गोविंद दियो बताए. Meaning that my Lord and my Guru are before me, and I am wondering whom do I bow down before first. And my Lord tells me that you bow down to the Guru first, because it is he who has shown you the path to me. In other words, friends, the status of the guru was elevated to near to divinity. That elevated a social position was accorded to gurus. And today, teaching is considered a lower middle class kind of a profession. Yes or no? Do teachers in today's society, अभी आप घर में से बड़े चौड़ के निकले हो पूरे बैंड बाजा बारात के साथ कि आईएएस की तैयारी करने जा रहे हो, कभी ट्राई करके बोल के देख लेना मैं टीचर बनने सोच रहा हूं. ठीक है, सारे रिश्तेदार जो आपकी वाहवाही कर रहे हैं कि वाह बच्चा परिवार का नाम रोशन करेगा, they'll start looking down upon you. मॉडर्न टाइम्स में थिंकिंग क्या है? अंग्रेजी में कहावत है, those who can do and those who can't teach. जो कर सकते हैं वो कर देते हैं और जो नहीं कर सकते वो पढ़ाते हैं. So the role of the teacher has seen a steady downfall from the very elevated social position of the guru in the ancient period to the modern day disdain, dare I say, for those associated or for the teaching profession at large. गुरु ब्रह्मा, गुरु विष्णु, गुरु देवो महेश्वरा. मतलब और आगे क्या है? गुरु साक्षात परम ब्रह्मा. मतलब एलिवेटिंग गुरु टू द लेवल ऑफ द सुप्रीम गॉड हेड. दैट वॉज द काइंड ऑफ पोजिशन दैट गुरुज एंजॉयड. टीचर्स इन स्टार्क कॉन्ट्रास्ट have a much lowly position in modern society. The teaching profession does not entail the same kind of respect, dignity or elevated social position anymore. साफ बात है. Reason being, of course, that the role of the teacher in the life of the student has greatly reduced. Secondly, also, friends, there is commercialization of education. Yes or no? बट गुरुज भी तो गुरु दक्षिणा लेते थे, तो हम क्या बुरा करते हैं फीस लेके? और हाउ इज द मॉडर्न डे फीस एनी डिफरेंट फ्रॉम द गुरु दक्षिणा दैट वाज पेड इन द गुरुकुल सिस्टम ऑफ एजुकेशन? ले दे के तो दोनों एक रीइंबर्समेंट ऑफ सॉर्ट्स है फॉर द टीचर्स एफर्ट्स, बट देयर इज अ क्वालिटेटिव डिफरेंस फ्रेंड्स. देयर इज अ क्वालिटेटिव डिफरेंस. साफ बात है कि वो पोस्ट पेड था, ये प्रीपेड है. इन अदर वर्ड्स, फीस आप कब भरते हो? बिफोर you imbibe the knowledge or receive the knowledge from the modern day teacher. Guru Dakshina was paid post facto. Yes or no? After having acquired knowledge. And if I don't have fees to pay in modern times, then beta, why don't you come for the class tomorrow? है ना? That is how modern education systems work. दूसरी बात, please appreciate, Guru Dakshina was, voluntary. It was a voluntary offering to the Guru as a mark of gratitude expressed by the student. Are you with me? It was not compulsory the way fees is in the modern education system. तीसरी बात, if we were living in those olden times, and I as the teacher or the guru, would I distinguish between a student who offers me 2 kg gold in Guru Dakshina and another who offers me 1 handful of rice? Will I prefer the gold wala student over the rice wala student? No. Matlab, it was not commodified. Yes or no? For me, both students could be equally deserving of my blessings, my knowledge, my respect. मॉडर्न टाइम्स में क्या है, एक स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड फीस हो गई है 49,000 रुपीज प्रति ऑप्शनल. Yes or no? That is the crucial difference, friends. The Shishya, so instead of teacher and student, slightly closer words would be mentor and mentee. To slightly better, it captures the meaning of the broader connotations of the relationship between the guru and the Shishya. And the mentor not only for career, but for life, for relationships, for one's spiritual journey. That kind of a mentor the gurus were. Also, the gurukuls were in the nature of kind of residential schools, where the Shishya or the mentees, they would reside with the guru and his family. Yes or no? So they would participate in daily routine activities. Khana banana, lakdi katna, washing clothes, etc. They would assist the guru and the guru mata, or the guru's wife, in daily routine tasks. See, why is that? How is that any different from modern day teaching? Today, too, most students live with the teacher. No, I'm your teacher. Do you live with me? Of course not. But that brings about a very significant difference in the nature of teaching, friends. Please appreciate. When the Shishya were living with the Guru, it entailed a huge responsibility on the Guru to teach by example. Teach by example. But in modern day teaching, friends, there can be a vast difference in my kathni and karni. What I teach, I may teach you a lot of feminist rhetoric, and then ghar jaake, I might don my Pati Parmeshwar robe. Yes or no? Or I may be deeply misogynist in my personal life. Simply you don't know. Yes or no? Because you're not living with me. But if we were in the olden times, could I do that? No. I will have to ensure consistency in what I am teaching and how I am behaving in my own life. So I can't be teaching you as a guru in olden times कि गुस्सा उस्सा नहीं करनी चाहिए और खुद क्रोधित होते जा रहे हैं at the slightest provocation. Yes or no? I can't be teaching you feminist rhetoric and then being patriarchal in mindset or in actions in my own personal conduct. In other words, the gurus were subjected to a much higher level of scrutiny. They had to be exemplars or role models for the Shishya. They had to teach by example, by their own example, unlike modern day teachers. The transmission of knowledge in the Gurukul system was, what was the mode? Yes, largely oral. Oral transmission of knowledge. While in modern times, in the education system, there is a lot of emphasis on written communication. Books को पढ़ना, notes को पढ़ना, notes बनाना. Yes or no? आप भी सुनने वुनने पे ज्यादा ध्यान नहीं देते हो. टू दी एक्सटेंट कि लिखना है इसलिए देते हो, ताकि लिख सको, ताकि नोट्स में प्रिंट छप जाए हमारे, है ना? Lot of emphasis in modern times on textbooks and written exams, etc. Also appreciate another reason why this social position of the teachers from that very elevated status compared to divinity has fallen down to its present state. The number of teachers has increased exponentially. Gurus were few, they were rare and much sought after. Teachers, in contrast, are frankly a dime a dozen. किलो के भाव मिलते हैं, है कि नहीं? So जो gurus होते थे, they used to select their shishya, screen and select their shishya. Or they would identify those who were worthy of becoming their shishya. Do we do that? The only worth that you have to prove for modern education is your financial worth. Yes or no? See, some institutes, we might conduct some fuzzy screening exams. But largely what matters is the pocket. धन्यवाद भैया. ठीक? So that is how clearly there has been a significant change in the social role and position of the teachers and a social transformation of the education system since then to now. And of course, amongst the education was also largely confined to the Dvijvan. The Dvijvan, or the higher caste. Now it is open to all sections of the society. ठीक? In your view, friends, this transformation of our education system from then to now is net desirable या undesirable? बढ़िया हुआ या नहीं? बढ़िया? And why? Why do you consider this patan or downfall in the social position of teachers as a desirable, or which aspects of the change, educational transformation, as desirable? Bitya. So access to education has greatly expanded, and that is one of the chief merits of the modern day education system over the pre-modern one. Bitya. Modern education is fulfilling the needs of the current generation, and presumably the older system was not fulfilling their needs. Are you saying that? Acha, you are saying that even if it was good that time, it has no place today. The Gurukul system of education is outdated and irrelevant in the present times. So this is the kind of education system we have is the one we need in today's times. और बताइए बिटिया. People are getting degenerate. Society is degenerating. Oh, so teachers are no more of course, and that's a legitimate comment, they may not be the best role models to emulate because of the degeneration which has set in the society. Teachers, for example, many are perverts. Many may be very deeply casteist. They may have divisive mindsets. Brother. Oh, the role of the guru was unnecessarily or perhaps, inflatedly important. So options are good. Saaf baat hai, why should, guru have this monopoly? The guru's monopoly has been broken now that it's, there are so many teachers to choose from. Bilkul. And the market mechanism will, in general, sift out the bad ones. Brother? Sorry? He's saying gurus imparted very practical knowledge. Modern day teachers, they impart mostly what seems very bookish and theoretical. What do I do with this periodic table? Or this list of scholars that you are making me ratto for sociology? Bilkul. Yes? Manas? Modern, in comparison to the Gurukul system of education, modern day education is not holistic. Okay, so couple of points emanating from your this thing that the modern day education system is not holistic. It focuses and this emphasis on mass production of knowledge or graduates is producing those who are essentially unemployable. Okay, brother. So back in the days, the ethics and morals of the right kind were ingrained in the, at a very early age. And today we are seriously lacking in those. Brother? Which is great. Which is what? Positive or negative development? Okay, so the education system from being religion-based, mumbo jumbo, it has become scientific, rational, which is great. Bitia. Students don't respect their teachers as they used to. Yes, we've always had nicknames for teachers. He fatso. You tried to? Acha, you also like were, taken away. But your parents told you otherwise. Bitya? How many of you take it in a positive light? Why should teachers enjoy unnecessarily elevated kind of a position? Why should there exist a great distance, if I may put it that way, between teachers and students? Why can't we be on backslapping terms? Or bhai kya hal hai? With our teachers. Dare you do it with me, but कहीं आप बोलो कि सर आप ही पढ़ा रहे थे तो no, but should such great distance exist between teachers and students? Won't education and communication in general be more effective if it weren't so hierarchical, top down and one way? Bitya, food for thought. Yes. Okay, so you need somebody who's like overseeing the discussion and and who can, from a position of authority, he can kind of guide it in the right way. Brother? It's a very Americanized contrast we are developing. There's a semblance with the Gurukul system in Japan, modern day, present day Japan, where there's a certain dignity associated with the whole process of acquisition of knowledge or formal education system. And you're saying it's healthy, it's doing fine. The Japanese education system is doing wonderfully well. They are Johnnies come lately. ठीक है. So we have a civilizational legacy. And what these newcomers, new kids on the block, they will be teaching us now. Against the marriage या merits? Merits. ठीक है. It was not merit based. Gurukul system was not merit based. It discriminated. One of the online students also commented, but Dronacharya took Eklavya's thumb as Guru Dakshina. Highly discriminatory. So it discriminated against the lower caste and the tribals, brother. And women. Sorry. So modernization has seen, specialization. So you need specialized teachers. I will not be good enough if I were to teach you all geography to economics to sociology, etc. So if I can prove my mettle in a limited domain of knowledge, it makes perfect sense in the current times. Bitya? गुरु और शिष्य का वेरी नाइस रिलेशनशिप भी बहुत क्लोज होता है. बहुत ज्यादा क्लोज होता है. So backslapping is not the right measure of the closeness of a relationship. है ना? बिल्कुल. एक करीबी रिश्ता केवल वही नहीं होता जिसके साथ आप कैजुअल या लूज टॉक करो. हाँ. Arey wah, what a wonderful analogy. He's saying if you have to pour something from one glass to another, then we have to put one glass on the top. आपका वैसे अंदाज़े बयां बड़ा प्यारा है. In general, not just for today, but in general. Education is based on this term we picked up from Nitin Sangwan, organized skepticism, which means what? Things can be now questioned. And you're suggesting, implicit, that questioning was not allowed in the olden times. That may not be very correct. Or you're saying, so teachers were, considered next to God and therefore difficult to be questioned. Brother. Oh, so the amount of respect we have is finite. So as the number of teachers has multiplied, per teacher quota of respect has kind of, ठीक है? We compare one teacher to another. And the respect, sir, is relative. Brother? So the modern education system has its achievements to speak for itself. What you're calling only a 200-year-old or 300-year-old civilization, and therefore of not much consequence. He's arguing it has produced unparalleled brilliance and material prosperity. Bitya. So you're saying there's competition, ugly competition between teachers today? Is that what you're suggesting? So they denigrate each other? Is that what you're suggesting? That? Need. What is imparted amongst modern day students? That? So students would compare one teacher with another. Why is that very wrong? I mean, isn't that very natural? Very frankly, if I have two friends, say, I'll compare how one person fares than the other. Likewise, if I have 2 or 5 teachers, I'll tend to. It is a human thing. Teachers bash other teachers. It creates a pollution. Then students lose respect for the teachers' community as a whole when teachers do that. And the education system as a whole. All right. But rather, the modern education system is money-based. साफ बात है, it is an outcome or product of capitalism. It is only job seeking. बिल्कुल. So he's saying the low status accorded to any social group or profession is based on their financial position. And since teachers don't earn too well, for the most part, they do not also, they're not considered highly by the society in general. Simply those who earn big are considered worthy in a capitalist society. And since teachers don't earn too much, they're not considered worthy enough. Fair enough. Bitya. The Gurukul system was better. let me just summarize. So, first argument is that children, for their proper development, need guidance, need to be told what's right from wrong. Nowadays, parents are busy in their careers. Teachers are not performing that role. So, children are left to fend for themselves, as it were. Right? And they're missing out on that crucial moral guidance. Ji, continue. So society is in a state of chaos, and perhaps a part of it, at the very least, can be attributed to the changes in the education system, particularly the lack of values-based education in modern times. Great. Thank you, friends. So, fast forward to which period? The modern period, or specifically the colonial period. The foundations of the colonial education policy were laid down by Lord Macaulay. So friends, the British, it's widely claimed, opened up the education system for all sections of the society. Why? Did they want enlightenment or knowledge to spread far and wide? Did they want to ensure social mobility? Did they want to, did they do it for the benefit of the lower castes or women? What was the purpose or intent? Brother. They wanted to recruit people for administration, police वगैरह, बिल्कुल. And to create a market for British goods. Brother, did you raise a hand? No, okay. So yes, absolutely. The purpose of the colonial education policy was to create a class of citizens who would assist them in the colonial project. The purpose of the colonial education policy was to create a class of educated Indians who would assist them matlab the British, in the colonial project of the economic exploitation and political subjugation of the country. Right? So they needed people who would man the administration, simply. They needed clerical staff for the government. Right? Or to paraphrase Macaulay, he said we need to create, or we need to form a class of people. We need to form a class of people who may be interpreters between us and the millions we govern. And the millions we govern. Dash. A class of people Indian in blood and color, but English in taste, in opinion, in morals, and in intellect. In intellect. In other words, friends, they wanted to create a class of brown sahibs who look Indian, who are of Indian vintage or Indian born families, but who in terms of their thinking, their mindset, their attitudes, their preferences are English. In other words, those who will look Indian, be Indian, but will serve whose interests? British interests. Were they successful in creating this class of persons? The answer is yes. Why? Because this colonial education policy resulted in the creation of which class? The Indian middle class. And did they assist the British? Yes, they did. So this educated Indian middle class, which was a product of the modern education system, they were the ones who worked in the colonial administration as judges, as lawyers, as civil servants, or in the police force. Yes or no? As clerks, as managers in British-owned factories, as clerical staff, administration, in their warehouses. Theek? So clearly the British were able to create this class of persons which they set out to. But the middle class did not, its role was not confined to only aiding British rule. This educated middle class also initiated social reforms. And it also provided leadership to the anti-colonial national movement. This middle class, educated middle class, which was a product of British rule, it initiated social reforms and led the anti-colonial struggle. Macaulay, friends, he looked at Indian knowledge, Indian sources of knowledge, with disdain. He did not think very highly of the indigenous knowledge. In fact, he had a very strong, clear preference for Western knowledge. Macaulay said that one shelf of a good library in Europe is worth far more than all the literature that India has ever produced. One shelf of a good library in Europe. And it's not just his personal preference. Please appreciate that this was also reflected in the colonial education policy. That is why it is important. In other words, friends, the colonial administration put in place an education system which was Eurocentric. European knowledge, whether it is the European sciences, whether it's arts, literature, philosophy, everything was considered as far superior to, and therefore promoted, far superior to India's rich literary output through the ages. ठीक. I reiterate, he considered Western knowledge, या European knowledge, as far superior to Indian knowledge, and that is what was promoted through the colonial education policy. During the colonial period, friends, educational initiatives, apart from the colonial state, educational initiatives were also made by reformers as well as the national leadership. The national leadership and various reformers also promoted education. So the reformers' efforts you are already aware of. Whether it is DAV education, whether it is in, Aligarh Muslim University, what was then MAOC, I think, Mohammedan Anglo Oriental College. Various such efforts you are already aware of. By and large, the reformers focused on providing education to, or opening it up to, the deprived sections like women, lower castes, or to promote modern education in their respective communities, say amongst Muslims, amongst Parsis. ठीक. The national leadership, friends, may I? The national leadership, they were critical of state control over education. Or they, for example, national leaders criticized Calcutta University, which was one of the premier educational institutions back then also. They criticized Calcutta University as a Gulam Khana. As a Gulam Khana. Gulam Khana means a factory for producing slaves. Meaning what? That Calcutta University, it was alleged by the national leadership that the Calcutta University was brainwashing students into accepting colonial rule. It was promoting, glorifying, and therefore legitimizing colonial rule. It was producing obedient citizens who could not see through the flaws of colonial rule. ठीक? In contrast, the national leadership promoted a national system of education. Yani schools and colleges which were under national control, not under the control of the colonial administration. The national leadership promoted a national system of education controlled by nationalists, which would promote nationalist feelings. ठीक. Why were the national leaders focusing so much on students? And which level students were they particularly focusing on? College students. Why? Very importantly. Because college students were a very, important target population for active participation in the freedom struggle. Now, when college students would participate in the freedom struggle, they would face disciplinary action from the administration. If you're a student in the Calcutta University, if you were found participating in protests, etc., against the colonial government, you might face suspension. Yes or no? Which would hurt their careers. So the national leadership wanted to establish a parallel education system where the students were not subjected to such disciplinary control, because that would demotivate them from participating in the freedom struggle. See, college students वेल्ले होते हैं, जवान होते हैं, होते नहीं होते हैं, तो वो they make for good भीड़ also. Yes, गरम खून होता है. Lot of positives as active participants in protests and agitations. ठीक? Do you really want your break? है ना? ठीक है, जाओ जी लो अपनी जिंदगी for 2 minutes. Chaliye, let's continue. Friends. Some comments from the online students worth sharing. Supriya is saying the ultimate goal of life is to manage our sustenance, which was taught in the Gurukul system, while modern education teaches facts and information, which is not much necessary to live. Vitan is saying that, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, disagree with the question part, that you could not question the gurus in the olden days. Arjun questioned Lord Krishna in the battlefield, who was God himself. Indian civilization has always promoted questioning. Colonial rulers wanted to create brown sahibs. Can you name any educational universities established by nationalist leaders to promote nationalist feeling? The BHU, for instance. The AMU, for instance. Chaliye. Where were we? So we had discussed about the colonial education or the education system during the colonial period. Also, friends, then what happened? Independence. How did the education system change after independence? Please appreciate, after independence there was concerted focus on expansion of education. So since independence till now, numerous measures have been taken for expansion of education. Education was considered, of course, or has been considered after independence as vital for national development. As vital for national development. And concerted efforts have been made to expand education. Tell me what major developments, or the first major development, or amongst the first initial early years after independence? IITs and IIMs. What else? Good. Is setting up of IITs and IIMs? Or right to education has been much later, no? Much later. Something or around that time. Boards like CBSE or bodies like UGC or Bitya? Reserving seats in higher education for, namely, which sections of the society? OBC के लिए नहीं था ना initially. SCs and STs. That is much later now. We are talking about the early years. The first major development, of course, was the Constitution. The Constitution of India, in which education was mentioned in the directive principles of state policy. So it was a directive principle that the state will endeavor to promote free and compulsory education to all children. The state will endeavor to promote free and compulsory education to all children up to the age of 14 years. Within 10 years. Was it achieved? Clearly not. Clearly not. In 1968, a national education policy was outlined. 1968. National education policy. Two major objectives of this policy were to facilitate economic growth. कि education should help economic growth. And another was national integration. National integration. ठीक? Another national education policy was outlined in 1986. 1986. Which, amongst other things, focused on improving educational opportunities. Yeah, addressing inequality of educational opportunity. Particularly for SCs, STs and women. Addressing inequality of educational opportunities for SCs, STs and women. An important scheme in 1990s was the midday meal scheme. The midday meal scheme. I'm now discussing the post-independence evolution of our education policy and schemes. In 1990s, the midday meal scheme was introduced. You're aware? Midday meal scheme? So children are given food in schools. But isn't that wrong? In the sense, isn't that digressing from the primary objective of educational institutions? School, college का काम पढ़ाने का होता है, खाना खिलाने का नहीं. No matter how noble and objective it is. But for that you should be relying upon other mechanisms like a PDS, a fully well-equipped, functional public distribution system, healthcare centers. Why are you burdening the education system with what are, not essentially its responsibilities? Teacher पढ़ाएगा या खिलाएगा? फिर कहते हो पढ़ाता नहीं है. बताओ, अब आप यहां पे आते हो 2.5 घंटा, मैं आपको खिलाने बैठ जाऊं तो मेरे सारे जो अटेंशन है, फोकस है, खाने पे ध्यान हो जाएगा. Which will really. So is this a right approach? Why, brother? Attendance increased. Sorry? Okay, so when they used to go for lunch to their homes, they would stay at home and not come back to school. They would bunk school. Now they're staying in school because they don't have to go out for lunch. Okay. It was an incentive to increase the attendance. Brother? It was not meant for food security. Absolutely correct. Please appreciate, thank you. It was not at all a digression from the key objective of education system or educational institutions. It helped in increasing enrollment, attendance, retention in schools. So educational outcomes improve हुए हैं. It has helped improve enrollment, attendance, and retention. It has also helped to improve learning outcomes. साफ बात है, I can be more attentive in class if my tummy is full. I can pay attention to what the teacher is saying. Otherwise, पेट में गुड़गुड़ होता रहेगा. Yes or no? So it has been one of the most, I would say, transformative, one of the most successful. India has one of the largest networks of schools, or one of the largest school feeding programs in the world. It's not unique to India, by the way. Schemes like midday meal. In many other countries also they are this thing. But India has the world's largest school feeding program, friends. Also, other important measures were taken like Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. Which focuses on or with the objective of universalizing primary school education. Universalizing primary education. Okay? Then, in 2002, what happened? Very important development. Education was made a fundamental right. Yes. Under by inserting Article 21A in the Constitution with the 86th Constitutional Amendment Act. Article 21A, 86th Constitutional Amendment Act 2002 made education a fundamental right. By this time we have come a long way, friends. From education being a non-justiciable directive principle in the Constitution to being a fundamental right. है ना? And not only was it a DPSP, it was also somewhat neglected. In 2009, the RTE Act was passed, the Right to Education Act, to operationalize the fundamental right to education. एक second मेरे भाई. धन्यवाद. Apart from this, numerous other programs, policies at various levels, center, states have been undertaken. Many directed towards or to improve the educational attainment of specific social groups or communities, such as Eklavya residential schools for tribals, such as construction of toilets in girls' schools specifically, because girls फिर मिस करती थी अगर टॉयलेट नहीं होता था तो. Such as Madarsa modernization program for Muslims. Adult literacy campaigns. Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao for girls, for the girl child. In some states, distribution of free bicycles to girl children, etc. To the latest, which is the National Education Policy 2020. Which year? 2019 or 2020? Yeah, 21 or 22? 2020. NEP 2020. Now, what does the NEP 2020 talk about? We will discuss at some length with an analysis. So, the NEP envisages making India into a knowledge superpower. Into a knowledge superpower. It wants to make India a global knowledge superpower. What is the Indic term that we use for it? Vishwaguru. Vishwaguru literally means like a world teacher, or a teacher to the world. Such rough translations are for those who are not conversant with Hindi. Now, what are the specific, some of the, policy prescriptions of the NEP as follows: to make India a global knowledge superpower. It advocates that 6% of the GDP should be spent on education, allocating 6% GDP to education. It replaces the present 10+2 system with a 5+3+3+4 system. Where the first 5 years, this is foundational education. Foundational education. Meaning what? 3 years pre-primary. I'm talking about this 5 only. 3 years pre-primary. Then first and second standard. 5 साल हो गए. Followed by 3 years of preparatory education. Standards 3, 4 and 5. Class 3, 4 and 5 में what is called as preparatory education या preparatory standards. ठीक? उसके बाद middle standards या middle education. 3 years. Classes 6, 7, 8. And 4 years of secondary education. 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th standards. The most noticeable aspect here is the formalizing of early childhood education. जो 3 साल pre-primary है, that has been brought into the formal education system. What we call early childhood education has been brought under the ambit of formal education. पहले स्कूल से पहले ऐसे ही बच्चा पल पुल के पल जाता था. Also, it focuses on, moving on, this NEP focuses on imparting Hello? Yeah, it focuses on imparting vocational training from the 6th standard onwards. What's vocational training? You may have heard about this term vocational education or vocational training. होती क्या है practically? Raise your hands and speak. Brother? Skills like carpentry. Yes? Which can be used basically to, handy skills which can help you to earn some money. Which are specifically job oriented. Skills like carpentry, plumbing, electrician, इस type के जो होते हैं. Why are these skills important? Should we be having them? 6th standard onwards. Why has the government introduced this reform? What's the intent or purpose? Employment. How will it generate employment? It will generate or it will make people employable. But how will it create the jobs? So people can get self-employed, you're saying, in all these various kinds of professions. Bitya? People can survive on it and finance their own further education. ठीक है. Yes. Sorry. So I can fix my own घर की electricity का thing. But how is that? Why should the government be? That's a very side effect. Dare I say? Huh? The purpose or the express purpose is definitely not that. That I can manage my own घर की बिजली, carpentry, etc. Brother? It will reduce the rat race for engineers and doctors. Huh? Yes, but here? Bilkul, knowledge doesn't remain bookish. It is now intimately, it has become beneficial to those who are, participating in the education system. A lot of people, particularly from the lower strata, wonder, having spent many years in the education system, what good is it? Or when, if at all, it will, produce or yield results. So vocational education produces results in terms of monetary benefit sooner. It gives people employable skills. या self-employability बढ़ाता है. Yes or no? मैंने इलेक्ट्रिशियन का अगर कोर्स कर लिया, मैं किसी के घर जाके या अपने वो बाहर बोर्ड लगा के कि इलेक्ट्रिशियन के लिए कॉन्टैक्ट है मुन्ना विद नंबर. आई नो इट्स स्टीरियोटाइपिंग, बट व्हाट डू वी डू? सो ठीक, मैं 4 पैसे कमा सकता हूं. दैट विल बी एन इंसेंटिव टू माई पेरेंट्स टू सेंड मी टू द स्कूल. ठीक है, सो इट गिव्स वेरी क्रूशियल vocational education, imparts crucial skills, training, which increases the employability, potential for self-employment as well as regular employment, which has a direct monetary benefit, a financial benefit. चलिए अगला. It matlab the NEP lays emphasis on teaching in mother tongue and regional language, at least till class 5, at least till the 5th standard. ठीक है. In higher education, the NEP seeks to increase gross enrollment ratio, GER, first letters capital, in higher education from the present 26% to 50%, almost double. 26%, TO 50% by 2035. ठीक? Meaning that 50% matlab every second person of a college going age should should be enrolled in college. Many enrolled also don't go to colleges, but should be gross. And this is what it means, that the proportion of people in that age group, in the college going age group, who are going to college or who are enrolled in colleges. Presently, 1 out of every 4 persons about, who is of the college going age is enrolled in college. The objective is, or the target is, to increase it to twice that, or 50% by 2035. ठीक? Also, this system will introduce multiple entry and multiple exit options in higher education. Multiple entry and multiple exit matlab? For example, presently when you are doing say engineering, you have to do it at 4 years at a stretch. Then under NEP you will be able to say do it for 2 years, take a break, earn money if you please or if you have to, and then come back and complete it by devoting another 2 years. Are you with me? It also seeks to establish multidisciplinary institutions in higher education. Multidisciplinary institutions. At par with global standards. So the idea is to promote excellence in higher education with a multidisciplinary this thing. You know? It also seeks to break rigidity and replace it with flexibility. Replace rigidity with flexibility. For example, in the old system, can you do, if you are say pursuing a course in civil engineering, can you do a course in history along with it? No. Or sociology? No. You are condemned to be an engineer for life, which is with most of us. Yes or no? So it is in silos, very narrow, straight-jacketed kind of. Yes or no? But there people or students will be able to choose from a kind of combination of options, okay, which subjects they would like to study. It also will replace or it will put in place a regulatory body called the Higher Education Council of India. Higher Education Council of India. A single regulatory body to replace numerous. Presently there are several. So you have AICT, you have UGC, in the higher education sphere. You have a multiplicity of regulatory bodies right now. Accountancy के लिए अलग है, medical की अलग है. So under this Higher Education Council of India will replace all other bodies except medical and legal education. उनकी अलग रहेंगी. All other bodies will be replaced by a single regulatory body and framework. Except medical and legal education. I'm being asked to repeat the GER point, which is that the NEP seeks to double the GEP from the present 25-26%, no crosstalk, to about 50% by 2035, by the year 2035. It also seeks to promote. I said, okay, I'm being asked to repeat the last point, which was that the multiplicity of regulatory bodies governing higher education space will be replaced by a single one, namely the Higher Education Council of India. It will be a single regulatory body for all higher education except medical and legal professions. उनकी अलग रहेगी, बाकी सारी subsume हो जाएंगी under this thing. NEP also seeks to or envisages promotion of research culture. Research culture in higher education. क्या होता है ये research culture? So all these PhD people and masters people, they submit research papers which get published in journals, peer-reviewed, magazines and these kinds. हाँ? क्या? What purpose ये सब फालतू का काम क्यों होता है? What? Any of you has done any research work? What purpose does it really serve? Why? I mean, to what benefit? Guys, I hear some murmur. Please stop that, please. हाँ. Please repeat. Is it something like a practical, say, lab work type? Is that what it is? Okay, that's the process, but I need a deeper insight, Vidya. Brother, have you done any research work? That's research. For which course? Yes. Expand or contribute to the knowledge base. Research, as originally envisaged, is supposed to be original. That's the key word. Novelty. Bilkul. So, either investigating a new area, which has as yet remained unexplored, or a new dimension of an old area of investigation. The idea is to bring forth new knowledge or add to the corpus of knowledge. India mein, friends, so for example, India mein R&D expenditure बहुत low है. Research culture नहीं है universities में. ये जो प्रोफेसर लोग पेपर लिखते हैं ये फालतू नहीं होता. Globally, in reputed universities, there is a lot of research culture which is encouraged, and that is very necessary for the further development of the society. It helps us. For example, why don't we have indigenous technologies? Why are most of technologies that we use today, foreign in origin? Because we do not promote research culture. And why don't we have a thriving research? See, India lacks in both quantity and quality. जो total quantum या output of research है, that is also low, and the quality is also subpar. So, it will kind of, help us find desi solutions, native solutions to our problems. Whether societal, economic research, हर फील्ड में रिसर्च होती है. सोशल साइंसेज में, साइंसेज में जो हार्ड साइंसेज होती हैं. बिटिया, डिड यू वन ऑफ यू रेज योर हैंड? यस, ठीक है. सो पॉइंट इज द NEP seeks to encourage a culture of research in higher educational institutions. It also highlights the importance of infusion of technology. And creating a digital infrastructure. Also, top foreign universities will be allowed to open their campuses in India. Top foreign universities will be allowed to set up their campuses in India. National institutions will be established for Sanskrit, Prakrit and Pali languages. National institutions for Sanskrit, Prakrit or Pali. ठीक. This of course is only a brief overview of a very lengthy and detailed policy document. You can't do full justice to that cumbersome document which is the National Education Policy in this 15-20 minutes. I've only given you a brief overview. You may have read about it in newspapers also or for GS purposes also. What do you make of it? Whatever you know from this lecture or your wider reading, what do you make of the NEP? सही है या नहीं है? Yeah, or even a more fundamental सवाल. Why did we have or bring about a new education policy? Many were critical of it, given particularly that this was formulated and announced in the midst of the pandemic. India and world was going through a crisis situation, in the midst of which ज़रूरत क्या थी? Already we had an education system in place since long. एक education policy भी चलती आ रही थी, brother. New arenas or new professions are turning up with technological changes. Quantum computing को लेके government has announced a which kind of project? $3 to 5 billion rupees, Indian rupees, dollars. Guys, I am going into quantum computing now. So you need to invest in people who have knowledge. Research infrastructure, the government is enabling research in the country through this scheme. Wonderful. ठीक है. Brother? Government has tried to address the shortcomings of the education system and build upon new technologies, which he also mentioned. Thank you. Permit me. So, friends, a new education policy was much needed, and it did not come a day too soon. साफ बात है. Please appreciate, as we had discussed earlier on the beginning of this lecture, the education system needs to reflect the changing needs of the society. The last national education policy was framed way back in 1986, more than 3 decades back. And Indian society has undergone a sea change of sorts since then. Since 1986, a lot of transformative changes have taken place in the society. So the education system must reflect those changes. Yeah. I'm just beginning with the need for a new education policy. What kind of changes our society has undergone? For example, economic reorientation. Since 1990s, liberalization of the economy. So we have integrated our economy fully with the global capitalist system. Important technological changes have taken place since 1986. For example, the growth of internet. Game changer in every which way. Internet, mobile telephony. Yes or no? Along with new technologies, you have new issues arising, such as the digital divide. A new sort of inequality has arisen. So point is, education system needs to be mindful of all these changes. It has to factor in and respond to the changes taking place in the wider society. The demographic aspect, friends. We are in the midst of a demographic dividend. So the education policy must harness or must be equipped to harness the demographic dividend. इसीलिए vocational training पे for example focus है कि young employable workforce है, मतलब young workforce है तो उसको employable बनाया जाए, skill development पे focus है ना. Economic growth rate higher हो गया है with globalization. Many have been taken out of poverty. So whatever changes have taken place in our society, the education policy must reflect. So the NEP has several, in many ways, responded to these changes. So there are many good elements in the new education policy, such as the emphasis on vocational training, such as the commitment to increase funding to 6% of GDP. Currently, we are spending about 3.5% of the GDP on education. And the NEP suggests we should double it almost to 6% or so. ठीक? Such as the ambitious target of doubling GER in higher education within 15 years. Right? It's an ambitious target, to say the least. The greater flexibility which has been infused. ठीक? However, the NEP has also been subjected to various criticisms as follows. One of the students is commenting, for foreign journals you need months and harsh peer review. Reply, but in India we have quote unquote give 999 and publish within 24 hours. 999 rupees and get published. And this boy has published something. I hope not for 999. Chaliye. Where were we? Criticisms. Amartya Sen. बस नाम ही काफी है. He has criticized the NEP for lacking emphasis. The NEP lacks emphasis on strengthening the public education system. Amartya Sen says, friends, that in Indian education system already, yani before the NEP also, the enrollment in private educational institutions is far higher than many other countries. In most other countries, more people study in the, or more proportion of the population studies in the public education system. In India, it was already high, private sector enrollment. And the NEP seems to be continuing with the same approach. NEP seems to be continuing with the same approach. What we instead need, actually, according to Sen, we need to develop a robust network of public education, public schools, imparting quality education for the whole population. I repeat, Sen argues that the NEP continues with the emphasis on private education, which has been there in India in the past also. What we need to instead promote is a robust public schooling system which imparts quality education to the whole population. Jean नहीं लॉक क्या, और वो तो जॉन है. जीन बोल लो, चलो लिखते तो जीन ही है वैसे. हु? अमर्त्य सेन का भाई. Not literal bhai, academic bhai. They write together. They've co-authored many papers. A lot of research they've conducted together. Jean Drèze. He's like one of the, he's a Belgian economist who's made India his home, and he's one of those literally jhola walas. And he was a part of the National Advisory Council, headed by Sonia Gandhi, which was used to advise Manmohan Singh government on social issues. So Jean Drèze, he says the NEP lacks a focus on equity. Lacks a focus on equity. Equity matlab, friends, there are already glaring inequalities when it comes to access to education. And the NEP is not, focusing enough on addressing those inequalities in terms of educational access to educational opportunities. Krishna Kumar, very good. How do we know him? Yes? Krishna Kumar, how do we know him? कौन सी fantasy? You're right. ओए 7वीं कक्षा के बच्चे. Giggling. हाँ? हाँ, pandemic में, when we had discussed that, there's a fantasy that many educationists are following, that there'll be a very smooth shift from classroom education to online education in a country where we have glaring inequalities, many people coming to schools for midday meals. That guy. Okay? So Krishna Kumar, he says that the NEP, reiterates this goal of spending 6% of GDP on education. This has been done many times in the past by many governments and many committees. There's nothing new. In other words, friends, what really remains to be seen is whether the government will walk the talk. बहुत सारी सरकारें पहले कह चुकी हैं कि हाँ हमें करना चाहिए, करेंगे. किया किसी ने नहीं है. क्या 6% GDP allocation for education. I repeat, this promise of 6% GDP allocation to education has been made many times in the past. What remains to be seen is whether it will be implemented. He is also critical, Krishna Kumar, also critical of the emphasis or of the introduction of vocational training in class 6. Why? See, basically he suggests that children may drop out after acquiring vocational skills at a young age. Not only are they may drop out. In India, there is a dichotomy between knowledge and skills. Conventionally, there has been a dichotomy between knowledge and skills. Which of the two has been respected conventionally in India? Knowledge has been respected. Skills, particularly manual or doing things with hands, is looked down upon. It is associated with who? Lower castes. Lower castes. हाथ से काम करना को नीचे रूप से देखा जाता है, नीची निगाहों से. It is looked down upon. In other words, friends, see, earlier commissions, there was this very important educational commission called the Kothari Commission that had deliberately introduced vocational education at a higher age, in a higher standard. But the NEP has reduced that. Kothari Commission earlier had, for this very reason, recommended vocational training at a higher standard. By lowering that, the present NEP 2020 might promote casteist mindsets. Krishna Kumar also criticizes the NEP on the grounds that it was framed, may I? It was framed during the worst humanitarian crisis, namely the pandemic. It was framed during the worst humanitarian crisis ever. But it makes only a passing reference to the pandemic. It only makes a passing reference to the pandemic. Matlab, it does not take into account the changed ground realities. It does not delve into, in depth on what will be the impact of pandemic on education, how to deal with it, all of that. Sorry? So it should have, no, but it did not do. The NEP did not address the pandemic holistically. Or the challenges for education that were thrown up by the pandemic were not addressed adequately by the NEP. Theek? He also says, friends, presently the RT Act 2009 provides the main framework for school education. Presently, the RTE Act of 2009 has been followed till now. What will happen to the RT Act under the NEP is not clear. ठीक? N. Sukumar. Next, N. Sukumar. He says, friends, a crucial word is missing from this lengthy and bulky policy document. कौन सा महत्वपूर्ण शब्द is conspicuous by its absence? S से शुरू होता है. नहीं, not sex, nor sex education. Secularism. Secularism. The word secularism is missing. And why is it even more glaring? Because this word was mentioned explicitly in the 1986 or the last education policy document. In fact, the NEP makes a reference to Nishkam Karma. Nishkam Karma. अंग्रेजों, लो अंग्रेजी में. Which is associated with a particular religion and therefore problematic. In other words, friends, the NEP indicates an ideological preference of the administration. एजुकेशन का भगवाकरण हो रहा है, as with all other things. It marks an ideological shift. ठीक, पहले हर चीज में हम सेक्युलर डालते थे, अब नहीं डाल रहे हैं, तो सेक्युलरिज्म खतरे में है. निष्काम कर्म is the essence of the philosophy of the Gita, Bhagavad Gita, which basically means that you be focused on, no, not the fruits of your labor, on, no, not the goal, on the deed, or on your, you only have a right to your labor, but not to the fruits of your labor. So don't get too attached to the fruits of your labor. But focus on your action. Without getting too attached to the fruits of it. Okay? Which is problematic. With that, we are done for the day. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. Priya is asking, can any answers be written without mention of any scholars in some specific topics? The short answer to that is yes. Okay? And we'll be having a detailed discussion if required on this on Wednesday.